Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice greatly. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice greatly. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice greatly. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice greatly. Rejoice, rejoice, rejoice greatly.
Rejoice, ogni amoroso, notte e giorno girando, della bella del mondo riposo.
Here is Tad singing in 1994, auditioning for admission to BYU as a 17-year-old freshman with 3 years of excellent high school level private instruction behind him.
Non più avrai questi bei pelichini, quel cappello leggero galante.
Because of his talent, Tad was allowed to skip our vocal boot camp. Our experience with Tad and other equally talented students has shown us that skipping this basic course jeopardizes their ultimate vocal growth.
Sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain.
For example, here is Tad singing 4 years later, in April 1999, at our voice major proficiencies at the end of his 3rd year of university-level private instruction.
Shook that part and lift that bell, get a little drunk and you land in jail. I get weary and sick of trying.
We hear his voice to be stronger and more mature, certainly.
And scared of dying, but old man river, he just keeps rolling on.
But some important basics of vocal health and beauty are still eluding him.
And all amazed at the love Jesus.
Here is a sequence from Tad's most recent private lessons. Remembering that Tad had not had the benefit of our vocal boot camp, we are here insisting that he refocus his attention for a time on the 2 first principles he would have learned there: flexibly erect posture and low, flexible breath management.
He proffers me, I tremble to know that for me he was crucified, that for me a sinner he suffered, he bled and died.
That surge in chiaroscuro resonance, that is, both brighter and darker resonances, which you just heard occur in Tad's voice, came as I insisted that he align his posture correctly for beautiful singing. Outside of your line of vision, my right fingers are pressing between Tad's shoulder blades in order to help him release and lift his chest out over his toes, while my left fingers are on his chin, partly to help him release his jaw, but more importantly, to help him release his neck back into full alignment over his spine. This postural alignment, in turn, allows Tad's breath to drop clear through his chest, so that the lower oblique abdominal muscles can become the primary exhalation force, thus avoiding the need to use either the contracting muscles of the ribs or a drop in the sternum to supply the breath energy needed for singing. The diaphragm can then, in cooperative interaction with the lower abdominals, be drawn down, as it should be, by its muscular insertion into the spine, rather than the higher and inherently stiffer insertion into the rib rim. The chest is thus opened and freed in such a way that natural resonances can finally be triggered in the tracheal tube. With the release of Tad's jaw, additional resonances are also available in the pharyngeal tube. The compression and decompression phases of both of these resonances can now interact cooperatively with the undulation of the vocal folds themselves. The tracheal resonance cycles assisting the bottom flesh of the folds, and the pharyngeal resonance cycles assisting the top flesh of the folds to remain free and flexible. By the laws of physics, these freer, floppier vocal folds create a much richer overtone spectrum, which we heard as a surge in resonance in Tad's voice. Lowering and freeing into full interactivity both the breathing and the resonance machineries also facilitates the coordination of the natural neurological vibrato impulses of the body and smooths the legato transitions from note to note, particularly during those pesky registration passages where muscular adjustments within the larynx itself must be particularly well coordinated. All of this has been explained to Tad in earlier lessons, but he is only now beginning to coordinate it. Here is a replay of that last sequence from Tad's lesson, so that you can see and hear all of that happen again. Note that the increase in chiaroscuro resonance and vocal beauty seem to come as a surprise to Tad, as does the newly discovered tug of the diaphragm against his spine. Students in the boot camp setting can usually release this coordination more easily because they have seen it work scores of times in their colleagues' voices.
Confused at the grace that so fully proffers me, I tremble to know that for me he was crucified, that for me a sinner he suffered, he bled and died.
Note that from insisting on these two basics, flexibly erect posture and low flexible breath management, the other important qualities of vocal beauty emerge very naturally. Projected flow phonation, chiaroscuro resonance, pleasant vibrato, and legato line.
Why are you pushing my chin in?
Because you're tending, now that you've got this weight on the diaphragm, it's tending to pull your chest down.
Okay.
That's requiring then that your diaphragm grab onto the sides of the ribs, and then you'll stiffen. Okay. So
Okay.
I'm wanting to make sure that your chest stays very far forward over your toes. You know, this is number one. This is flexibly erect posture from 161. Well, you didn't take 161. That's why we're having
Sorry.
trouble. You weren't in boot camp, okay? But the point is, I'm trying to get your chest way out over your toes and your neck way back over your seat. That then removes the chest from this weight. But it's the idea of the machete knife. There's a machete knife just went through, slit right through you here, and so all of these things lift up, float up,
Okay.
and all of these things, including the diaphragm, float down.
Okay.
So there are no muscles connecting either one.
Okay.
Here we go,
Okay.
and
I stand all amazed at the love Jesus offers me,
let your chest go.
that for me a sinner he suffered, he bled and died. Sufficient to own, to redeem and to justify.
Feel that weight?
Gosh.
Well,
Huh?
you're feeling some. What are you feeling?
Gosh, I feel like I'm gonna pass out. Is what I feel like I'm gonna do, man.
That's right, because you're breathing right. Can you feel the tension back here?
I can feel tension back there.
Okay, that's the tug.
Mm-hmm.
That's the diaphragm getting tugged where it belongs, from behind.
Diaphragm can break in half is what it is.
Well, I know, but that is correct singing, okay? I cannot save you that backache. I cannot save you the exhaustion when you're
Does it
done.
sound like
the right
crud
way.
though? I don't feel like it sounds very good.
Beautiful voice.
But it's
Gosh.
always, his voice is always beautiful, but... Here the videotape is replayed so that Tad can hear the difference in vocal beauty.
Oh,
wait a minute. That was a little, the breath was a little high. The
All right.
breath was a little high.
Okay.
Let it fill up the weight of your diaphragm.
Okay.
Oh, it is wonderful
easy.
that he should.
Tad seems to be on the way to recapturing the basic skills he should have learned in vocal boot camp.
Oh, it is wonderful, wonderful to me.
Now, what are you learning?
Oh learning that hurts to sing right, I guess. Hurts my back.
Okay.
Does.
What are
It's
you
pretty
doing in order to get that hurt? Right.
good. Breathing low. And
Below your chest. Chest is
Yeah.
up high and totally out
that's
of the
pretty
way.
much it. Just when I breathe low like that, I can feel this like right in the knot of my back, like when it caves
That's
in like
exactly where the muscles of the diaphragm fasten to your spine.
Greta is a 15-year-old who, in this segment, is auditioning at the beginning of our Brigham Young University High School summer music camp. Prior to this audition, she had sung for several years in the Salt Lake Children's Chorus and had studied privately for 18 months with one of the most successful teachers in Utah. The week-long BYU workshop included first a 2-hour lecture on the physiology, acoustics, and aerodynamics of the singing voice, as they relate to the good posture and low breathing, which we also required of these students in 4 one-hour-long group vocal boot camp sessions.
Looked out the window and what did I see? Popcorn popping on the apricot tree. Spring has brought me such a nice surprise. Blossoms popping right before my eyes. Looked out the window and what did I see?
I want you just to analyze it for a moment. What was going on? These were very, very short notes, just like the Queen of the Night, where she was going. Was there any vibrato on your notes?
Yeah.
I don't
Or long extended ones.
Even on the short ones. Even on the short ones. Occasionally I'd have
There's
to.
never a whole lot on mine.
Yes, there was. There
There
absolutely was. You
That's
see
where
that
I
on the
heard
video.
a lot of.
You'll see this on the video. The point is that occasionally I had to goose you. I had to go, and you went back to that wonderful light. It's what has to happen in order for this whole machine to work correctly is that the breath-making muscles that are in here have got to stay in their interactivity very much the consistency of Jell-O with a little bit too much water in it. You know what happens to Jell-O when you put too much water in it? You know, it's sort of.
Trust me, I done it.
If you put too little water in it, what happens to it?
It's just
Yeah.
kind of
It becomes
nasty.
stiff. It becomes stiff
Crumbles
and
up.
rubbery. That's not the nature of things. There has to be this lively life to it in order for the whole thing to stay free, so that the vibrato can come in even instantly on even the short notes. You can go home and you can listen to your videos and you'll hear on air almost every single note. As long as you kept that life behind the sound, there was that lovely even vibrato. It wasn't heavy, it wasn't too fast, it was just lovely. Every all for it. There's no problem at all. Worked perfectly. Okay, what have we learned?
Posture.
Posture.
Yeah,
posture.
Okay.
So you
And
get
breath.
to keep the breath going.
Yeah, keep the breath.
Okay.
Keep
Down
that
here.
Okay. What
keep,
else have we learned?
keep breathing down here. Don't let it come up. Like
Okay.
Don't
like
let
very
your
deep.
posture close down.
Okay. What else have we learned?
Sento nel corpio non mi sento, nel corpio non mi sento, nel corpio non mi sento,
Nel corpio non mi sento. Give me some high notes as well.
nel corpio non mi sento, nel corpio non mi sento, nel corpio non mi sento, nel corpio non mi
Sing it for
sento.
us, man.
Nel corpio non mi sento, nel corpio non mi sento, nel corpio non mi sento, nel corpio non
In the group setting, 4 hours of instruction seemed to have been sufficient for Greta to demonstrate at least rudimentary understanding of the basic principles of vocal boot camp. Now let us observe, student by student, the growth in vocal beauty which occurs when these basic principles are drilled for 3 hours per week during a semester-long vocal boot camp course with 15 student colleagues.